Pull up. Don't sink.
Young British pilots are earning their wings in the skies above Indonesia.
Caution, terrain.
It's one of the most dangerous places to fly in the world.
I don't really want to get into the same situation as he did. It's high risk out here, basically.
With almost no aviation jobs in the UK, Brits with little flying experience are choosing to travel halfway across the planet to get their first pilot job.
When you see something real like today, you do kind of want to put it out of your mind.
The winds can really kick you up the ass.
You feel like you don't have control.
But putting their lives on the line could pay off big time and help them get their dream job with a commercial airline.
Yeah, if anyone from BA Recruitment is watching, I'm really keen to go back and fly in the UK.
That cheeky little air stewardess.
I've wanted this since 5 years old, to be a jumbo jet captain.
This series follows young pilots as they learn the ropes thousands of miles from home, flying to some of the most dangerous and remote places on the planet.
Oh, that's a nice axe you have there, my friend.
They're saying that the young people here haven't eaten humans before, but the older people here have definitely.
And living a life they would never have back in the UK.
I think if I was in England, I would probably end up with a complete munton.
He has a driver, he has a maid, he has a cook.
In tonight's episode, we learn how every decision can make the difference between life and death.
What the hell is that idiot doing?
But is it a price worth paying to fulfill a lifelong dream?
Stall. Stall. Stall.
One small airline has made its name flying to some of the most hostile environments on Earth. Hiring pilots with little flying experience who struggle to get a job anywhere else.
As a low-ad pilot, it is always going to be difficult to get a job. I mean, that first job in aviation is absolutely vital.
Nearly all of SusiAir's 200 pilots are expats. Many of them are British. The airline gets its name from the remarkable entrepreneur who's grown the company into a multi-million-pound business in just 10 years.
I sometimes thinking I don't believe it what's happened right now and what we have right now. Starting with 2 planes, and it's now 49.
With bases all across Indonesia, a sprawling country made up of over 17,000 islands. SusiAir provides a vital lifeline to some of the most remote communities on the planet.
It's like stepping back 1,000 years because there's all these different mountain tribes living in the middle of nowhere, relying on just the aircraft coming in every day.
Flying to places where other airlines simply don't go.
The weather and terrain out here, it's some of the most challenging in the world.
We're flying over a dense jungle and there's not many emergency options.
Usually the people that come out here and fly, they're not normal people, if you know what I mean. We're all adrenaline junkies. There's always something wrong with us.
For the pilots, the stakes are high. Indonesia has one of the world's worst air safety records. SusiAir itself has had 3 fatal crashes in the last 3 years.
Been not easy. I mean, I have to do funeral speech for 2 times within 3 months. Cannot be easy job.
Every day we still have a job to do, but deep down you're thinking about it. You're thinking about every single day it could happen to you.
2 of the 3 crashes happened in the remote region of Papua. Here, the airstrips are some of the shortest in the world. The weather is at its most extreme, and the mountains tower above dense jungle.
I think it really brought it home when the accidents occurred, you know, how dangerous it is, and basically the end result is that can actually be fatal.
"37-year-old Captain Guy Richardson, originally from Farnham, has the responsibility of being base manager of the lowlands of Papua.
It's really tricky at the moment. Got a shortage of aircraft, shortage of co-pilots and captains. Through my 20s, I did a number of different jobs. Did a couple of ski seasons. I was also a taxi driver, worked for a loft conversion company. Still didn't really capture my imagination. I think my mum used to explain me to her friends by calling me a free spirit.
In 2011, Guy qualified as a pilot, but needing thousands more hours behind the controls to have any real chance of landing a job in the UK, he found himself at SusiAir.
When I first got here, I was paying co-pilots off to take their days so I could go flying. I was offering them food. I just wanted to really crack on with my career, get those hours as soon as I could so I could upgrade to captain. The end goal would then be to move on to a larger airline with jets.
Despite only qualifying as a pilot 3 years ago, Guy's responsible for ensuring that any new pilots are able to deal with the dangers of flying here.
On its day, when all the challenges come together, Papua can just really just be overwhelming.
Today, Guy's mentoring 25-year-old Croatian Stjepan. It's only his second day behind the controls in the dangerous skies of Papua.
I don't even know how to say. Takeoffs are optional, landings are mandatory.
Co-pilot Stjepan's been flying with SusiAir for less than a year.
We're keeping a close eye on him, that he's happy, and yeah, it'll be his first time into all these new strips.
It's gonna be a long day, just one of those days in SusiAir.
They're flying passengers from the remote island of Biak to the town of Manokwari, 130 miles away. They deal with isolated communities, which means their passengers are often unprepared for the experience.
Papua is one of the most remote and definitely the most challenging places to fly to. It's like the final frontier.
10 minutes into the flight, they hit a problem.
Okay, Joel, what does he want?
Water, can I give him yours?
Why does he want water?
I don't know, he's spilling it all over himself. He should go back, perhaps. Indonesia 6.
What's wrong with it?
Now, Romeo Alpha. Kembali?
Kenapa now? No, I'm from the Sala. Stop doing that. We don't have on our aircraft any flight attendants, obviously. I mean, we are the flight attendants, as well as the pilots, so it's a real concern when a passenger's agitated.
I don't want to talk to this guy.
This guy's pretty crazy, isn't he?
It's an open cockpit. He can just reach over, grab the controls, or assault one of us.
What the hell now?
Right, put the belt on. Okay, do what I say then. Take control, yeah. Take control.
I have control.
Mate, put your belt on now.
What the hell is that idiot doing?
We're really worried that he's going to disturb like the other passengers or maybe assault one of them or ourselves, which would be the worst case scenario. So we've got to return back to Biak now.
And flaps 20?
Yeah.
And I plan
Traffic here, take shot fly out.
Guy has radioed ahead for airport security to be ready to deal with the situation on the ground.
He was taking water off us, he's moving around, seats, disturbing our passengers. The passengers were really scared. So with that, we had to turn back. He's got water all down in there.
Bawa trauma gitu ya?
Iya, jadi ngapa itu saya aja, bagasinya tolong aja. Saya nggak jadi lagi.
It's been a rude awakening to the realities of flying in Papua for co-pilot Stjepan.
He seemed completely out of his mind. He wasn't able to comprehend orders, he didn't understand, and he was acting strangely, annoying other passengers. In the end, the guy calmed down, but you never know with these guys. It's not comfortable to sit around someone like that when you're at 10,000 feet up.
It was a difficult situation for Stjepan to be in, especially on his first day flying in the lowlands.
But there's no time to relax, as Guy and Stjepan have 2 more flights to complete today. And in Papua, you're only ever one mistake away from disaster. In the last 10 years, there have been 60 plane crashes in Indonesia. Despite this, inexperienced pilots unable to find work in the UK are still queuing up for jobs with SusiAir. One of the newest recruits is 26-year-old Nick Holmes.
Back in the UK, I sent out over 200 CVs to different airlines and only received maybe 5 responses. If SusiAir didn't offer me this opportunity, I have no idea what I'd be doing.
He's placing all his bets on this opportunity.
I do like to gamble. I will take risks, and I think you need to succeed.
Back home in the Isle of Man, Nick was a professional poker player. And now he's taken the ultimate gamble, leaving behind a secure job and his long-term girlfriend to follow his dream.
There are some people who'd think you're crazy for not knowing everything you're getting into. Aviation safety is not as good in Indonesia as it is in the West.
Training for the new recruits takes place at SusiAir HQ in Pangandaran, on the south coast of Java, Indonesia's main island.
We got off the plane and we went straight to class that very day. It was rush, rush, rush and madness.
In 6 weeks, they'll be flying passenger planes. With 3 recent fatal crashes, it's essential that the intensive course prepares them for the worst.
If you crash into the ground, seatbelts are useless. If the airplane is going to tip over, break up, explode.
From dealing with fire in the cockpit.
So who wants to have a first try to put out the fire with the fire extinguisher?
To having to crash land into the sea.
Studying very hard in the first week. We give them all the information the first week. We put the pressure on. We fill the test, or you lost your job. One of you will be unconscious and your partner will drag you a few miles to the shore.
We were in the pool because Indonesia is a large archipelago and practicing just in case we ever had to ditch and how we'd survive. Especially in a place like this where you can't really be sure how long it would take for someone to come and get you.
With their first exam just days away, proving they can handle the pressure is an essential part of the process.
The pass requirements are very high for the exams, and we have one coming up on Saturday, and there's a huge pressure to pass. One of those battery burst circuit breakers popped.
It's any circuit breaker. I think it's
Is it any of them?
Yeah.
I'm fine for now, but I don't know what I'm going to be like by Saturday.
If Nick passes the course, he'll graduate to become a co-pilot. Nearly 2,000 miles away, in the lowlands of Papua, co-pilot Stjepan is being mentored by Captain Guy Richardson.
Guys, when they come out here, have definitely got to be a bit more mentally prepared. They're going to have to think about terrain, wind, all the weather before they go out flying every morning.
Guy and Stepan's home base is a dry town, so they take every opportunity they can to pick up supplies.
The nearest beer's about 140 miles away, so the guys have to organise with the crew over there to bring a box of the goodies down to the aircraft, and we load them up and fly back all smiles. Stepan, we got the beers that are in cargo port A.
Makes me smile.
He's a happy man.
As captain, it's Guy's responsibility to make the vital decisions on all aspects of safety. This strip is one of the shortest they fly from in the lowlands. If they don't get enough speed up, they will end up in the trees at the end of the runway.
You have committed points, you have an abort point as well. There's absolutely no room for any confusion, otherwise things could go badly wrong.
Sorry, radio, Victor Tango, there is a dog on the runway, please remove it. Over, Victor Tango, runway clear for takeoff. Negative, runway clear, sir. There is a dog on the runway. Please get security to remove. Over, Victor Tango, runway clear. As soon as we get the guy on the radio to understand what we're trying to say, so we're going to start a takeoff roll, just be ready to reject if a dog runs out. And we just watch there's people up at the end of the runway as well, so just keep an eye on them as well, okay? Okay. Is good. And checked. SB live. Negative.
Guy suddenly makes the call to abort the takeoff.
Victor Tango rejecting. We'll try again now. This is a bit of discrepancy between the airspeeds.
It's a safe takeoff second time around. On their first attempt, Stepan's speed dial reading differed from Guy's, and with the correct airspeed critical to a safe takeoff, he had no option but to abort.
Stepan called negative at a really critical stage. I mean, we were like another 2 seconds from rotation, so if you don't reject them, or are possibly ending up in the bushes at the end of the runway.
Guy's been impressed with Stepan so far.
The rejected takeoff went well. Didn't seem to faze him, which is really what you're looking for in a pilot out here.
With 2 tricky flights already under their belt, Guy and Stepan still have the rest of the day to navigate before they can crack open the beers. 300 miles from the developed and built-up Papuan lowlands, SusiAir's base in Timika serves the remote tribal areas of the mountain highlands. There is only one pilot based in Timika, 25-year-old British captain Sam Quinn.
I get up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for 5. We do this, then we just beat the weather basically. The weather gets bad around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Sam went to school in Oxford and originally had a very different career in mind.
I realized that school wasn't really for me, so I left at 16 and thought I wanted to be the next Gordon Ramsay and just work in the kitchen. So I worked in the kitchen for about 3 years. It was pretty difficult, working 18 hours for 2 weeks straight and just basically giving up my life.
Sick of the drudgery, he swapped the kitchen for the cockpit, and now his eyes are on the ultimate goal of a job on a commercial airline. But getting on the first rung of the ladder proved no less testing.
I didn't have a job for about 8 months, so I got my first job over here in Asia, and I was just happy to fly.
Some people I've known have got jobs for 3 years. Like getting your license and doing all the exams is pretty easy, but getting that first job is pretty hard. That's why most pilots come to SusiAir who have minimum hours. I think the difference between us and commercial airline pilots is that we actually fly the machine more than they do. They rely on autopilot, and us as pilots out here, we're much more hands-on.
Sam is flying 80 miles to Sinak, a village deep in Papua's mountainous heartland. The flying here would test even the most experienced pilot, but ex-chef Sam's only been flying in Papua a few months.
It's just a high terrain around it, because as you can see, we're at 12,500 feet, and terrain is right there. If we're off track slightly, we're smacking life into that, basically.
It's quite scary at first, quite daunting, because you've got all these huge mountains just surrounding you, and you're just in this small little plane, and there's nothing below you, just trees.
En route, Sam is reminded of how badly things can go wrong.
There's actually a red board on the side of the mountain, and obviously being a porter pilot myself, I don't really want to get into the same situation as he did. See the fuselage, the left wing just smashed up to left, the right wing down there, and just the cockpit just demolished. This is the first time I've seen the crash. Not nice seeing another porter smash into the side of the hill.
The incredibly basic road network in the mountains means these supply flights are highly valued by the Dani people, one of around 300 tribal peoples in Papua. They are all deeply attached to their traditional lands and have been fighting for independence from Indonesia since the 1960s, when it took control of the area.
Look at that with a machine gun here.
So armed government guards keep watch at the airstrips. Tensions can run high, and Sam has learned to expect the unexpected.
You get rowdy crowds that want to get on the flight, and everyone's screaming and shouting, pushing each other. If they just do get violent, you need to throw everyone off the plane, throw all their cargo off, shut the doors and get out of there.
They got the local stash of rice and noodles, so yeah, it's about a 10-minute turnaround, so yeah, we're just going to shoot off back to Tamika.
Maksudnya ini, barang ini.
Got your parents always just asking, oh, when you're going to come home, when you're going to move back to civilization.
But the move will have to wait. This is only the first flight in a long day for Sam. Kiwi George O'Brien is one of the most experienced pilots with SusiAir. He's one of the few people qualified to fly from the mountainous base of Wamena, where the flying is at its most dangerous. He has been a captain here for 4 years, but he still can't afford to be complacent.
The weather here is predictably unpredictable. Every strip's to be treated with respect.
Today, George is checking out 2 new airstrips. The mountainous heartland of Papua. The only way the tribes can get proper access to the outside world is if they build a strip themselves. George has the job of assessing whether these strips are safe to land at, but he has to fly blind to the first one.
Yeah, we just know the general area of the strip. We don't have any coordinates or strip information, so we're just navigating visually.
Pull up.
George will be the first person to land here. So he has to decide from the air if he feels confident he can land safely.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of a drainage issue. We're just going to land, use the bottom section and slow down, and then it'll be a high power taxi.
Only if George can complete a successful landing will the airstrip be declared open.
Stall.
The locals see these planes like mystical beasts. They call them metal birds.
Berapa tahun lama? Ini? Ya.
Lebih 14 tahun.
14 tahun. So, yeah, they've been making this strip for 14 years, so it's a pretty big deal to see a plane land on it.
Now that George has landed successfully, the airstrip will be added to the SusiAir routes.
They've got nothing, you know, and now they've, you know, potentially food, building supplies, a link to the outside world. Awesome experience.
It's a local tradition to present the pilots with a gift when a new airstrip opens.
They don't have much food, you know, this is a huge deal, you know, to get given something like this. I feel bad accepting these in some ways, but a bit of an insult not to, you know, to take them, so yeah, just be grateful.
George also has the honour of being the first pilot to take off from this dangerously steep strip. Next, George needs to check out the second new strip. The Lugwat tribe who are building this one are said to have a dark past.
So this is the site where they were killed. I'm not sure exactly whereabouts it happened.
In 1968, 2 missionaries were travelling through the jungle when they were surrounded by local hunters.
The hunting party came across these guys and were curious as to what they were. I think they might have felt threatened, so they killed them and ate them. Everyone that I've spoken to that's been out here for any length of time thinks that cannibalism still exists in some of the more remote areas.
SusiAir flies to some of the most remote and dangerous airstrips in the world, providing a vital link to isolated communities. George O'Brien, one of SusiAir's most experienced pilots, is checking out whether a new airstrip is fit for use. The Lugwat people who built it are said to have cannibalized 2 missionaries in the late 1960s.
It's still got a wee way to go. Going to call it after one of them.
Unable to land on the strip they'll name after the dead missionaries, George lands on the other side of the valley. Although a day's walk away, the people who live here are part of the same tribe that killed the 2 men. The evidence suggests cannibalism died out in the 1960s when these areas became more connected to the outside world. But stories still persist. Now he's here, George is keen to find out about the rumors of cannibalism.
Kamu ada orang Papua makan?
Waktu dulu bisa makan juga, tapi sekarang tidak.
Kamu makan orang Papua 30 tahun lama?
Bukan, lebih 60-an tahun sana. 60-an tahun. 64 tahun. Sekarang seperti begini tidak makan. Tapi ini moyang kita dengan orang tua kita makan. Anak-anak kecil, waktu kami waktu kecil masuk.
So they're saying that the young people here haven't eaten humans before, but the older people here have definitely.
One of the hunting party who is said to have killed and eaten the missionaries was here when the strip was opened.
And they asked him if white man tasted any different to you know, their own, which they used to eat regularly, and the story goes that he thought they were delicious. So, yeah, we might not hang around here too long.
George is keen to find out more about what happened to the 2 missionaries. The son of one of the men still lives in a neighboring village. He was a child when his dad met a brutal end, but stayed on to continue his missionary work.
So you know that your father was cannibalised after he was killed?
Most definitely, both Phil and Dad were cannibalised. People from Lolat, the warriors from Lolat, they followed them through until they were well out of their own village area before they took up the attack against them.
Cannibalism was pretty rife in this whole area back in those days. Was that their belief?
The whole of the Barlim Valley was really Cannibal Valley, right the whole way. You know, you didn't want to be invited to a feast. You might be the centre of that feast.
Yeah, because I've heard from a few people that it still does possibly happen, you know, in some of the remote sort of south coast locations, out in the flatlands. And
It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me that it still happens.
Been pretty sobering meeting Wesley. It's a bit of a reality check when you hear all these stories. It just goes to show what a different environment this is. Yeah, this place is a long way from the rest of the developed world.
"25-year-old Sam Quinn is preparing to fly the 60 miles from Tamika to Nabia, one of the most challenging landing strips in the whole of Papua. Nabia is set into a deep valley. The tall mountains can cause strong winds to build, and there is often turbulence and downdrafts on the final approach to the strip. Just 400 meters long, it's one of the shortest strips in the world. The SusiAir ground crew are in charge of ensuring the planes aren't dangerously overloaded.
We have 4 passengers and more some cargoes, and they nearly put the wrong cargo inside. And if they put it, we will be crushed.
So just signed the manifest. It's got 758 kilos. You just need to watch out for the tailwinds on this one. The strip is a little bit, it's known for its gusty wind conditions and everything like that. So we just need to make sure we don't have a high tailwind going in. Otherwise, we're just going to have to come back.
This strip is a big test for Sam, who only has a few months' experience of flying in Papua.
We're just approaching overhead the strip. I'm just going to slow down to 90 knots, just to have a good look at it.
Sam has to make a pass to check for any dangers on the runway. In 2011, SusiAir had a fatal crash because a man walked out in front of a plane as it was landing.
At the side of the strip just looks like there's a few puddles, but should be no ice. We're just going to shoot an approach. Really strong headwind here. Full power.
Buffeted by downdrafts, pushing the plane downwards towards the ground, Sam has to make critical decisions. Too little power and he'll hit the mountain too early. Too much and he won't be able to slow down in time. Sam has to fight to keep control of the plane. It was a close call, but Sam safely delivered the passengers and the villagers' supplies.
Heart pumping. You committed then? Yeah, I was committed. I couldn't turn left or
basically wind just pushing us down, and I just more or less nearly had full power on there just to try and maintain altitude, and it was just kept on pushing us down and down and down. That was a bit of a sketchy one. Okay.
Sam's proved himself capable of making the right call in the most testing circumstances.
I had my experience now. That was probably one of the sketchiest moments I've had, really. I've only been in Papua 3 months now, and it's just finding out these things when you're out here. It's just a steep learning curve. When the weather's really bad, I mean really bad, and it's really kicking you around, and there's no other way you can get around it. You just have to plow right through it. You do get anxious. Once you think you know everything in aviation, that's when you're going to kill yourself, because you never stop learning.
SusiAir flight school in Pangandaran, the new recruits are still 5 weeks from flying the planes. But first they have to get past a make or break exam.
The sheer volume of information which we're learning is excessive for the time which we have to learn it.
At the local airport, head trainer Bas is filling their heads with yet more information.
Let's stick together, don't wander off.
It's vital they master every element of the planes they will fly.
Yeah, there are some instructions. You could read it first.
So up or down? I think it's for both.
Don't you have to press? There's an arrow. And there's like a line with the pointy thing on the other side.
It's down.
With such small crews, they have far more to think about than a jumbo jet pilot.
Clean the vomit off the floor, co-pilot job. On a few thousand hours I did, I don't think that anybody ever vomit on the caravan. We had some diarrhea cases.
But there are bigger dangers for the new recruits to get their heads round.
So you see a small aircraft now backtracking on the runway. You saw that the scooter on the other side just coming towards each other. And about 2 years ago in another training airport, the 2 people on the scooter drove right into the 2 people in the small training aircraft, and all 4 died. See, plane passes, straight away, scooter behind the airplane.
I just kind of thought, if I was a pilot, even though they got the warnings going off, you see these guys on motorbikes just coming right to the edge of the runway, and you're thinking, you really aren't sure if he's going to stay there or if he's going to make a mad dash to try and get across in front of you. That's quite a surprise.
Nick's taking a rare break from his studies. He may be thousands of miles away, but he's set on keeping his 7-year relationship going.
Hey, yeah, it's working. You're really close to the screen. It's like right up there. You have to put in a huge effort to make a long-distance relationship work here. It's not easy.
Yeah, how have you been?
Yeah, doing okay. Horrible sunburn and... yeah.
Oh well, that happens.
Yeah, big mistake.
Do you miss anything from home?
I miss a lot of things from home. Bacon, I'm missing greatly. I really just want a full English breakfast with like baked beans and black pudding and stuff. Seeing like the friends who I'd see all the time. You, obviously. Yeah, my parents, my sister. But it's just the training where things are a bit crazy.
The next morning, it's crunch time for the new recruits. They're facing the exam that'll determine if their dreams of a career in aviation will continue.
I don't think any of us are going to do that well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to get 100.
What was the pass mark?
No idea. No one knows.
I don't know.
If I was to fail here, then I have no safety net to rely on. There's no other job waiting for me back at home or anywhere else.
The recruits need a minimum of 80% to keep their flying dreams alive.
They know very well that if they don't pass the exams, the employment might be terminated.
Once they submit their answers, the computer reveals how well they've done.
Yeah, I passed, that's all that matters. It wasn't the best score in the world, to be honest. 84%. Probably was harder than I thought. But that seems good enough for me, so I'm happy with that.
In the lowlands of Papua, it's Stjepan's last flight of the day with mentor Guy Richardson. They're flying from the remote town of Merdey. The luggage wouldn't get near a flight back in the UK.
What's that? It's a big knife. A big machete. Good stuff. I the machetes and guns going for dig. And yeah, check the old machetes in there. Good stuff.
Fully armed.
This time, Stjepan is taking the controls for the takeoff.
Check flaps.
20 indicating.
Check terrain touch.
Is inhibited.
Merdey is one of the more challenging strips that we have in the lowland.
The line of trees means he needs to quickly build up speed to have enough lift to pass them, or it's game over. He only has 530 meters to do so.
Runway looks clear.
Runway leads right.
Visibility's good.
And check.
Airspeed is alive.
And check.
Plus 60. Continue.
As they fly over the trees, an unexpected downdraft pushes the plane far too close for comfort.
Ooh. Those trees get big quite fast.
It's definitely pretty, yeah, it's pretty interesting departure there, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, limited runways for sure, yeah, that's why it's such a good, like, sort of training ground, proving ground. You got to call that reject early if you don't have your speeds, or you're not happy with the takeoff roll, the aircraft's not accelerating properly.
Today has been a baptism of fire for Stjepan. Guy's mentoring skills have been tested to the limit.
It's been a busy day for both of us, but for you, it must be like quite an eye-opener today. Are you happy with how that went? You were happy with...
Actually, I think we handled it quite well.
With how we handled it? Yeah, I was happy.
It was as close as you would want to get to the trees out of Merdey for sure. There have been many accidents in the past which have been caused by, wind shear and sink. Stjepan, to be fair to him, handled it really well. He made what was going to be quite a hairy departure into, a nice successful departure, and I was really happy with the performance.
Well, that's just a day for me. It must have been a very interesting experience for you. That's Papua.
End of the day, finally. It was a long, long day. Quite interesting, though. I'm pretty sure I'm experiencing Papua in all its glory.
It's not just the passengers they've managed to bring home safely.
I'm waiting for the captain to allow me to take the beers.
Are you wanting to take them?
No, I can take them.
No, you can take them.
I'll just monitor.
Gosh, sneak these in.
Guys,
Sneaky.
With Stjepan's job in Papua looking secure, Guy's thoughts turn to his own future.
I'll grab the beers, don't worry about it, Stjepan. A very difficult mental process to try and reason with how manageable, you know, all these threats are and how dangerous the place is with you know, how much you want to carry on the job and carry on flying. Deserve this for sure, buddy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Good day.
Thanks for today.
As much as Guy loves the opportunities his job gives him, his time in Indonesia may be drawing to a close.
My goal when I joined SusiAir, I wanted to come out to Papua, which I've now achieved. Obviously got the base manager role as well, which is great. My next move will probably be into regional airline back in Europe. Good end to a day, just to relax, unwind, get a bit of exercise, chat the locals. Now it's home time for some food. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Next time, the new recruits take to the skies for the first time.
What could go wrong?
So bad. No.
And a fight breaks out on the runway.
Shit, he just smacked the girl in the face. We're having a good old family domestic in the jungle.
An owner and manager not on the same page. Keep with 4, we're staying at Ramsey's Hotel Hell next.